Welcome to the Hustlers Corner, another exciting episode. NOTA is here. On Mondays, you'll be seeing a lot of NOTA. There is a lot of talk in the industry. A lot of people are not appreciating me having NOTA, but a whole lot more people love NOTA being here. I'm a Grootman. I love NOTA. I love all of you guys. And if there is a potential somewhere, I think let's work with it.
You know, as Elon Musk tweeted, why doesn't witchcraft work on inflation? I tagategle inflation. Tagatayon. And so it's going to tagata your money.
For me, I'd like for us to focus on the kids.
Yeah.
You told me that last night you were with Uncle Vinny and some
That's
young...
why I was late a little bit this morning.
Some young guys recording some music. So what I'd like for us to do is, how do young people get into this game? How do young people make money in this game? How do young people stay relevant in this game for long? How do they monetize their careers? How do they just build a career for themselves in this music industry business? I would like for us to focus on that. I know for a lot of you guys who might have this knowledge already, who know this knowledge, it's okay. You guys have been in the game for a while. You know the music industry. We are literally speaking to the kids, 15-year-olds out there, 18-year-olds out there, even the guys who are older who still feel they still want to pursue a career in music. How do you make money in this business? Can you even start a career? A lot of us, when we started in the music business, we were told that this thing is not going to last. This thing is a very risky career. This thing, you might not even be able to build a home with it or have a house or have a family. Here we are Grootmans now. We've built businesses. We are now household names because of music. So we want to share as much information as we can as far as the music industry in South Africa is concerned. And the authority is here. NOTA Baloyi, how are you?
Thank you. Bro, I'm good. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
How have you been? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just trying to figure out this new setup. Okay, we got nice mics.
Then just neuter the mic properly. The front,
yeah.
Sure.
So
nice.
I think I'll start by saying luck is not some mystical energy that dances around the universe, randomly bestowing people with good fortune.
You create your own luck. I might have heard that from Jay-Z somewhere.
Fade to black.
Fade to black, yeah.
And he says that there's two things that'll get you through this, and that's patience and persistence. And that's the advice. You need to be patient and you need to be persistent. You need to be trying. So I was speaking to Uncle Vinny, Roy, and Major Steez last night, and also their teams. And they were asking some advice, and I said, the thing about you guys is that you still got that primary school mentality. You failed your first test in primary school, and now you think it's the end of the world. You can't even tell your parents that you just failed a test. It's like your first heartbreak. That girlfriend that broke your heart, the first heartbreak, you feel like, oh no, your life needs to end now. And that's the thing about this industry, is that it's going to test your patience. And you need to be prepared to have your patience tested. You need to know that when you're feeling down and you feel like, okay, fine, it's time to give up, all you need is to give it more time. And all you need to do is keep trying. So patience and persistence are the most important things that young artists need to have. You got to have an unbreakable spirit. You got to be determined. And I think, sorry, man, I'm just trying to wash down.
No problem. So they call it...
and the archer that we had.
They call it, hey, by the way, it was Kaulama Chips and a crew.
It reminded me of back in the days, no TJ City lights at the Langwachter train station when we used to eat that after itiski. Beskazateli, itwiza ne chips ne ice, back in those days.
And I was telling the crew, gents, one day you're gonna remember these days with Kaulama Chips song.
Yeah.
Ne archer na Russian.
Yeah. I can't eat Russian anymore.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, no, because I struggled to chew my food properly, and the one time I had a Russian. And luckily, my mother was there when I was eating that Russian, and she gave me the Heimlich maneuver. So I nearly choked on a Russian. So after that,
I don't want to hear more. It's okay.
No.
The music business. Let's start with the business of music, because we love it so much and we're so passionate about it, so much so that we end up forgetting about the business side of it. We end up getting done under. We end up signing the wrong deals.
Ish.
We end up regretting it at a later stage when we are older.
Yeah.
Let's start. For young guys who want to get into this business, what is it that they need to know first about the music business of the music?
Well, that everything is negotiable. Everything is a negotiation. If someone is offering you R1, you must know that it's negotiable. And they might be getting more value out of whatever it is that they're offering you than what you are being presented with initially. So you need to know your value. and you need to fight for it unapologetically. And that's where the patience and persistence comes in. You can't just take whatever is the first carrot that's dangled in front of you, because then you'll find yourself in that spiral where you feel like the music industry owns you. A lot of artists also are very dependent, and being dependent means that you rely on other people's expertise. When information is out there, there's the information superhighway, there's ChatGPT, which can distill that information for you in a readable format, in a format that you can understand quickly. So there are all these tools that people can use to inform themselves better. And a lot of artists focus too much on their creation and their creativity, but don't get the knowledge to protect that creativity and to protect the authenticity and purity of their art. And then they end up serving the industry. There's a recording business, there's a recording industry, and then there's obviously art, there's music. And all of this is parts or facets of the business themselves. And one can have proficiency in a number of areas or have a proficiency in one specific area, like a specialization. But in this day and age, where information is readily and freely available, that's the one thing that everyone should have a proficiency in, is the latest information, where their industry is moving and where the global trends are, because, we serve a global audience now. And we cannot limit ourselves to our street corner, our hometown. And as you should know that, you're not going to get your flowers in your hometown. You need to go out into the world, make yourself something. And then when you come back to your hometown, after having made yourself something, that's when you get celebrated. Until then, they'll keep teasing you and dissing you and encouraging you to break out of the comfort zone, because that's exactly why they well, I wouldn't call it pull people down, but they are very critical of people that are entering into the arts field, because they want to ensure that if you're doing this, you're going to be able to face the scrutiny that will come with success once you attain it.
And the success does come with a lot, especially with him as a musician. You have to get yourself out there. You have to promote yourself. Now, when we are talking the music business of it, let's break it down. The first part that everybody thinks of is royalties. Royalties, they themselves are split up into different types of royalties. Let's start with the word royalties. What does royalties mean in the music business language in South Africa? And what are the types of royalties that are there?
Yeah, so the royalties are the earnings that are accrued from the usage of whatever products or artworks you're making. And that's what many artists live off of. If you're a filmmaker and your movie plays in the cinemas and there's some revenue that is made, there's some royalties that can come about. If it's streamed on these streaming platforms, you can get royalties for that. I'm not too sure whether our artists get royalties for the TV shows that are being aired on South African television, because they're still finalizing the Performers Amendment Bill. Or the Performance Amendment Act, as well as the Copyright Amendment Bill currently. But musicians, we get royalties from a number of usages of our music, from whether it be mechanical royalties.
What are mechanical royalties?
So the mechanical royalty is for every reproduction of your work. So when your work is now reproduced into different MP3s, CDs, or in different formats, there's a royalty that is then collected on that. A certain percentage of the value of that product is then retained as a mechanical royalty, and that's split amongst the creators. There's performance royalties.
What are performance royalties?
So your performance royalties.
What are performance royalties?
So a performance is anything from you singing or you playing an instrument, and you are actually doing a performance. So when you're doing a recording, you're actually performing, and that performance is now recorded. And when that performance is used or utilized anywhere else, people can collect royalties on your behalf for those performances. And performance royalties are collected by organizations such as SAMRO.
What does SAMRO stand for?
So the South African Music Rights Organization.
Okay.
Yeah. And then as well, there's also the mechanical royalties that come from compositions, whether you're writing a song, right?
Excuse me, before you continue, what is a composition?
A composition is basically anything that you have composed or made that is now written down, because music is like a form of literature. Although you hear it sonically, I mean, all of those notes correspond with, I guess, music notation, you know. So if you see people playing in like an orchestra or a symphony, they don't listen to the music before they start playing. They've got sheet music, right? And that sheet music they can then use to then tell them, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be playing. The composers of that sheet music, the people that actually write that music, or whether they program it, you can take something that you've made on a Fruity Loops or whatever it is, any DAW, DAW, that you use, you can then break it down into sheet music as well, because there are notes there. And that those royalties, right, are for the people that actually write the music and the lyrics of the song. So the composers, or the people that originate the different melodies and the different sounds that you hear, whether they're putting them in a literary format, like they're actually writing lyrics to a song, or whether they're just writing the music that is sung over, or it's just music that has got no vocals or no one writing words to it, right? That is the composition. And those compositions also have different rights associated to them. There's the composition performance royalties, which is collected by the by Samro, like I said before, and then the mechanical royalties for those compositions are collected by Capasso.
What is Capasso?
Yo, I forgot the name. What is Capasso? If you can break down the name. Okay, I think
Composers Association.
Yeah, I forgot the.
Let's fact check it. Fact check it. It's okay.
Yeah, so let me check it on SE Africa. SE Africa. I've just signed up for SE Africa.
So Capasso is a digital rights licensing agency based in Johannesburg, South Africa, which collects and distributes royalties to its members. Music publishers. Sorry, let me continue. It's still vlogging here. This thing is nyamalaling.
Are you on the Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I'm on my data. Oh yeah. Capasso is a digital rights licensing agency based in Johannesburg, South Africa, which collects and distributes royalties to its members, music publishers, and composers. Joining Capasso as an author or publisher member will be to your benefit, because Capasso continuously strives for excellence in efficiency when it comes to mechanical license fee collections, as well as service excellence in royalty distributions. Now, my question to you, NOTA,
so those are the mechanical licenses. So
what's the difference between Capasso and Samro?
So that, like I said, it's the mechanical license.
Okay.
For the actual writing of the work, not the performance of writing the work. You understand? So the different mechanical copies that are made, right, accrue a royalty for their usage, and that's what Capasso collects. And then the performance royalties are collected by Samro.
But they won't only just collect it if you are not their member. So you need to become their member, right?
That is the thing about these organizations, is that they're not perfect. So there's certain things that we still need to fight. The fact that Capasso says it's only going to keep money for 5 years. Imagine if Usbusiso, not Leope, but Usbusiso was wherever, Kuruman, somewhere. He's been making music his whole entire life. He doesn't know about these organizations. You know, his music has been used in all these years. And then when he finally finds out about these organizations, they say, yeah, we can only give you your money from up to 5 years, because the rest of the money has been put into a pool and distributed for everybody to have. I mean, who gives them, Capasso, the right to distribute your music to everybody? You know, they shouldn't have that legal right. You know, and they don't have that legal right, but because they haven't been challenged in court through a class action by artists, they are able to do that, and they've been doing that. So a lot of us have missed out on some of our big earnings and are now going to lawyers and to litigate that, to say, listen, every single cent that has ever been made on anything that has got my composition on it, I want my money. And if you've distributed it to Usbusiso erroneously, because he now fell into people that can get into that pool of money that is uncollected or unclaimed monies, that's fine. But I want my money. So you'll need to either get a bank loan or whatever it is that you need to do as Capasso to make sure that we get our money, because there should be no reason why the money of the creators is given away. There should be no reason whatsoever, and those are the things that we still need to challenge. Same thing with Samro. I think the most vocal person about these issues is Usis Nomsamazwai, and she knows a lot more about these things, and I'm still learning from her about these things. I mean, what I'm reflecting on are things that I've learned from her as well, that she has been teaching us. So that's another digital music licensing organization.
Yeah, we're still on music royalties. Remember?
Yeah, the royalties, yes.
So
there's more, yes.
We said
there's also performance royalties
performance
for
royalty?
playing the music.
Okay.
And performing vocally. So that's SAMPRA, South African Music Rights Performance Association.
So that's another organization in South Africa. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go. SAMPRA.
Let's make sure that I said it correctly.
SAMPRA. Okay. So SAMPRA is a collective. Sorry, it's still Vuleging.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's Vulegad. Why does it keep nyamalaling this thing? Okay, SAMPRA is a collective management organization. How? And then it nyamalalas again.
Yeah, I don't know.
The website, Ishayama.
No, it's not only that. It's
hard to get. Okay, SAMPRA. Oh no, man.
Yeah. So let me go to. I don't know why they don't have. Oh, okay. No, this is the.
Okay, let me read here.
Yeah.
Let's start. Yeah, this is actually an interesting one. I know that we spoke about SAMPRA. What is the use of SAMPRA? SAMPRA is a collective management organization that administers needle time rights on behalf of recording artists and record labels. I'm going to ask you, what is needle time?
So those are neighboring rights.
Okay.
In other words, in other countries, they call them neighboring rights. So the needle time is basically you are playing, if you are putting a needle on a record, and the time that you play or you perform or you sing on a record, because a composition is not the same thing as a record. Once it becomes a sound recording, it's a different thing from the composition. Like I said, you can write music on paper as sheet music, as your compositions, without even playing it. And then once you play that music and you record it, it becomes a recording. And that recording comprises of performances from whether it be people that play instruments or vocalists, and all of those people that are contributing to the performance, whether it be singers, whether it be people that play guitars, they need to then collect for that playing and the usage of that recording every time it is used.
Before we continue, I know a lot of people are already asking themselves out there, what is the difference between SAMPRA, SAMRO, and Capasso? SAMPRA administers needle time / neighboring rights on behalf of recording artists and recording companies for sound recordings. SAMRO administers performing rights on behalf of authors, composers, and publishers of musical works. And then for those who are curious about SAMPRA, as I did say earlier, it is a collective management organization that administers needle time rights on behalf of recording artists and record label. Is SAMPRA membership for free? They say there is no joining fee for SAMPRA membership. Do your own research out there if you're interested in getting into the music industry. And they are not, I'm going to jump into two before I get back to
going.
you. How does SAMRO make their money? SAMRO collects money from establishments that use music like clubs, banks, radios, and many others, restaurants, etc. We then distribute this money to music creators in a form of royalties. As a music user, you need to apply for a license. As a music creator, you need to apply to become a member. Does SAMRO pay royalties? SAMRO distributes royalties according to a set schedule called a distribution cycle. The schedule is released at a start of every financial year.
Is that right?
The schedule will be reviewed quarterly.
Is that right?
All submissions, we'll discuss it just now. All submissions for a post-distribution may not be processed in time for a distribution run. And let me just read two more again. Does SAMPRA, now we're no longer on SAMRO, does Sampra pay royalties? Sampra does pay royalties. They pay out needle time royalties to artists and record labels, whereas Samro distributes performance royalties, as you were saying. These two organizations are not in competition with each other, and artists are encouraged to register at all collective management organizations to maximize on their royalties.
The CMOs.
Yeah,
so if you see
CMOs.
CMOs, that's where that three big words, collective management organizations.
To maximize on their royalty streams. And then they say, do you get paid if your song is played on the radio? We're going to get into those discussions now. I just want to read a couple of these lines. As we've mentioned earlier, in most markets, both songwriters, recording artists, and are typically paid royalties anytime their music is played on the radio. So you do get paid when your music plays on the radio.
But now you get paid, right? So the money then sits in a bank, wherever they bank, right? And then do you get paid because now your money that you've created is now gaining interest for the organization? When they distribute the money, are they sharing the interest that they've accumulated with you because they've got, 3 or 4 payment cycles quarterly? Is that fair? That someone sits with my money in the bank, gains the interest, and then gives me a portion of my money without the interest that my money has gained, because my money now starts working. Does it make sense that I'm not paid immediately, daily? There isn't a bank account or a wallet that then Semro has my wallet that every single day for each and every single play that I get my money. And inside that wallet, I accrue the interest for the money that is sitting there. I'm able to take my money out. I'm able to reinvest it in other things. Or now I need to wait for 3 months for Semro to pay me my money. When they pay me my money, I now owe McDonald's. I owe Umashonisa. I owe the guy that sold me techies. My money, when it comes in, it pays off all my debts. It's not even useful anymore. I'm not even working with my money forward. You know what I mean? Those are the things that also need to be challenged. These organizations are there, but they're not perfect. And we need to be actually looking at what are these organizations doing with the money, because we know how money works and we know what that money can be used for. I mean, 38 million rand was taken from Samro at some point in time, you know, and there was a big hoo-ha about what happened, and the board of Samro, which comprises of people that are in the recording industry. I mean, at that point it was, I think, Sipho Dlamini, it was Gabby Leroux, and a number of other people that were part of that board, Loiso Bala, and the money was never accounted for. They used artists' money that artists have worked for. Some of them don't even compose music, the people that are sitting on the board. They use that money to invest in something, and that investment failed. But when their investments have successes, to the artist's benefit. I mean, Samro owns a very nice big building here on De Korte Street.
Bramfontein.
You know, they rent it out and do all those things, but they acquired that building with the money that was made by the compositions that they represent from the members' money. Now, do the members also get a share of the rent of that building because their money was used in the investment in that building? I mean, it's not just office space, it's real property. And because of digitization, automation, artificial intelligence, a lot of the management staff that was needed or necessary at that point in time. Oh, sorry, do I still have?
No, it's me. My internet sometimes when I'm eating.
No, Nami, I also have, my antennas also like to catch some of the food, you know what I mean? They like to save it for later. You understand? So we also need to discuss how these organizations are working and follow the money. Because these organizations are obviously not perfect when they're designed, but they're obviously working on a profit motive, even though a lot of them are registered as non-profit organizations, but clearly they work on a profit motive. I mean, Sampra on its own has over 100 million that it's just sitting with, that it doesn't know what to do with. That's why they do the Sampra fund. They're asking people, yo, come here, come collect this money, because this money is just sitting here, and they're afraid that at some point in time, they're going to have their pants sued off, because they're sitting on money, they're accruing interest, and they're not doling it out, they're not sharing it, and they're not sharing the information on how people can register. They're not going out there. It's not very easy to register. I mean, for me to Rika my phone is easier than me becoming a member of Sampra, but for me to Rika my phone allows the government and the cell phone networks to capture like really personal information about me, but it's a very quick, simple thing. I can recur my phone at Mjalapan, Ekonen, and get a SIM card. But when I have to register at Samro, it's a whole entire process. It's very arduous. Not many people are digitally savvy, and our music didn't come from the recording industry. South Africans, or Africans in general, we weren't recording our music, but we've always been creating music. We've always been composing music. If you listen to like political parties when they're marching, it seems like they've got like a songwriters camp, and every single time they've got a march, they've got a new song. You know what I mean? So that is part of our culture, and we are trying to figure out how we can make our culture congruent with the industry that we're in, the recording industry, which is how people are actually deriving and earning from their creative works now.
Having your music on radio can earn you a great passive income. Every time your song plays on radio, you are owed a publishing royalty. Samro collects those royalties from radio stations and pays them to the people who wrote the song.
When?
One spin of your song on a prominent radio station like Metro FM 94.7 or KFM can fetch you anywhere from 60 rands to 200 rands. South African rands. I noticed that I had one spin on Metro FM, which paid about 450 rands, probably one of the highest paying stations in the country. Unfortunately, smaller stations and community stations don't pay as well, as due to smaller listenership or smaller advertising income. Close quote. Even if you sign to a label, publishing is money that the label can't touch. Something that a lot of artists don't seem to know. This money belongs to the songwriters and the publishers, if you have one. But getting that money from Samro can often feel like an uphill battle. But it doesn't need to be, because I'm going to show you, obviously this is taken from the Samro website. I'm not specifically saying me, I'm reading this, right, guys? Quickly, I'm going to show you a fail-proof way of making sure you never get cheated of the money that you are owed. Before I get into it, here's a story of what happened to me recently, which inspired me to write this article. I recently received my latest Samro and Radio and General report for July 2018 to June 2019. And then I noticed that my statement said my one single, Lose You with Amifaku, only received 14 spins on 94.7. Here's a screenshot of the statement that Samro sent me. I knew this song played a lot more on radio and on other stations too, so I cross-checked it with my Radio Monitor report, a service which gives actual accurate numbers, and it said the song had actually had received over 1,370 spins during that time. So I queried Samro about it, and they said they'd look into it. They just got back to me now, and they said that they had accidentally paid another David Scott, and that I am owed 30,000 rands for the actual song. I couldn't believe it. This is not the first time this has happened, but on the plus side, it seems like they're going to be paying me back for their mistake. After receiving the news, I noticed that there are other songs that haven't been reported correctly. So I might actually end up getting more than 30,000 rands. Somebody actually wrote this article, and they say, so without further ado,
what's the name of that artist that wrote this? David Scott.
It's David Scott. So without any further ado, here's what you need to do to make sure that Samro pays you correctly. Number one, you need to be a Samro member. Number two, you need to get access to your Samro portal. Number three, you need to register your songs and your splits correctly. Splits, basically the shares that you have with other musicians that you participated with in creating that musical work or that song. Number four, you need to become a member of Radio Monitor, which monitors radio spins all over the country in South Africa.
But you
Number
pay for
five,
that.
excuse me?
You pay for that though.
Yeah, you pay for it as well. Number five, you need to check that your Samro statements correlate with your Radio Monitor statements. Number six, update. You need to download Samro's new unit rates document so you can work out exactly what each station owes you. Number seven, update, which is optional. Hire a professional to handle the audits for you, and etc. Maybe let me start here. What is music publishing?
So to publish, it's not just music publishing. Anything that is published is now shared with the public. That is it. That is it. So once it's out there and people can use it and access it, and that usage obviously collects and accrues royalties. There's then management and agencies that collect and basically represent, whether it be composers, represent publishing companies, and then ensure that those works are represented and that the earnings that are derived from the usage of those workings are correctly accounted for. That is what the publishers do, and that's what a music publisher is. So you can publish your own music, you get it out there, but then you've got a publisher that does the administration work to ensure that on the back end, each and every single usage is accounted for. Yeah. I think also another thing that people should do is that they should go to the Creative One podcast. And everything that we're discussing here is discussed by experts in this field. There's many podcasts, I think they've got over 40 podcasts, 40 episodes that they've done so far, or just over 30 episodes that they've done so far, and that can teach you a lot about all of the things that we're speaking about and all of these organizations, as well as also highlight some of the challenges that artists may have with these organizations, because now we know better about how to utilize our money. I mean, sometimes you're sitting there and thinking, oh, let me not collect my money from Samro, let me let it accrue. But while you're letting it accrue, inflation is not able to be defeated by witchcraft, as Elon Musk tweeted. Why doesn't witchcraft work on inflation? I tagategle inflation. Tagatayon. And so it's gonna tagata your money and it's gonna tata your money, while it's sitting there, and your money is not being put to good use and it's not being reinvested in other productive things that you could be doing. You could be upgrading your studio, you could be getting better sound quality, you could be using better sound engineers, because when you're on Apple Music or when you're on Spotify and any of these platforms, right, you are literally competing for sound quality. When your song is not as loud or doesn't sound as nice as the next person, the person's very inclined to skip, because there's so many songs. There's over 100,000 songs that are uploaded onto these streaming platforms each and every single day. So weekly, that's over 700,000. So you're looking at,
I think now it's hit 1 million. There's over 1 million songs
weekly.
uploaded daily.
Daily. Oh, daily.
Daily, yeah.
Okay, so then you're looking at maybe just under 10 million weekly that all of you are competing against for ear space, and you need to get that promoted, to get that into the playlist and everything else. But once it's up there, you're competing for sound quality and you're competing to have the least skip rate.
So it's extremely important for you as an artist, even when you're starting, before you even blow up, to register your own publishing company, so that every time you release a song, you've already agreed with the people that you
No, not for that. Not the publishing company is so that you are taxed as a company, not taxed as an individual when you receive money. That's the main reason, because I think a lot of people don't understand that when you're an individual, your tax rate is so much higher than what a company pays, and a company only pays tax on its profit.
Yeah, so you've got an option to either register a publishing company or to register your works as an individual, but
yes,
to be a publisher.
Yes.
Because for all of the works that you keep creating in perpetuity,
yeah,
say you've been in this music game for 40 years, everything ever since you started, everything that you participated on, whether it was a vocal, whether it was a feature, whether you played some contributions on some, or you sang on some songs.
But how did you get to the studio? Ukibeli taxi, you had to eat food, so there's expenses. So if you're doing it as an individual, you cannot claim back those expenses when you're paying tax.
Yeah.
So when you get the income as an individual, you're paying tax on all the income. Whereas if you've got a publishing company of your own that you've registered, right, then you pay tax on the income less the expenses, which is the profit.
And that is another homework that you artists out there and aspiring musicians, you need to go and do. Go find out about music publishing and understand it well, because publishing, that's the biggest part of the music industry that is going to help you pass on your generational wealth, or the generational monies that you've created or you've collected or you're about to collect in the future, for the sake of your children's future as well, even when you're no longer here.
Your great-grandchildren.
It's extremely important for you to understand, learn, and know about music publishing.
And that's why Marvin Gaye's family were able to claim from Pharrell and Robin Thicke for using their publishing or misusing their publishing. I know people saw a clip of me talking about how Adele used something I'd written. And obviously, you know, these legal processes take a lot of money when you go into litigation. If you're not collecting your money properly, you're not going to have enough money to hire the lawyers that you need to protect your rights and to protect your earnings. And you won't be able to hire the expertise to inform your family of everything that they need to be able to do to protect the rights that you've now created, to take them out of generational debt and to pass on generational wealth, because that is the main thing that we are trying to create by participating within the music industry. No one is saying that you need to record your music. No one is saying that you need to sell your music. If you're a creator, you can create for yourself and not even want any money for it. But once you participate within the music industry, it is incumbent upon you to ensure that the investment that it takes to be a successful musician, the sacrifice that your family has to make to support you, is then recompensed by ensuring that your rights are protected and that your earnings are passed down.
What is music scoring?
Music scoring is basically compositions that are made to accompany certain scenes in visuals. Like the score of a movie is basically all the music that has been made to accompany the visuals and everything that you see. I think there's a movie that has got absolutely zero scoring, No Country for Old Folk. I don't know if you've watched that movie.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, the only thing that you hear is the sound of that air gun that they use to euthanize cows when they're slaughtering them. And that has got absolutely no scoring. And one of our greatest composers and performers in South Africa, Lebu M, has participated in many Hans Zimmer musical scores for movies such as The Lion King. So the music that you're hearing throughout that is the score. All of it put together is the score.
Just like how Abo Saudi, Nabo Java, Nabo
are part of the score for Black Panther. Nabo Rihanna, Nabo Thames, now Black Panther 2. You know what I mean? Usaudi is the most streamed South African artist. He's the first South African artist to cross over 250 million streams.
Yeah, I read that actually this morning.
Yeah, that was on Mzansi A-Lister as well. That was the first people to actually announce it, and now it's everywhere in all the blogs. So
if you feel you're a producer or a musician or you're a beat maker, or there's actually other people out there who've got a career out of just scoring films, they literally create the music that set certain moods for different scenes in different films or different TV shows
that contextualize what you're seeing.
For instance, even Mandla Speaker, after that, Air Generations, the one that came in after, the opening sequence music was done by Grootman Mandla Speaker.
Yeah.
And because he had contributed to that, every time when Generations plays, he gets paid a certain check, a
Same thing
check.
as Duncan did in, which one? I forgot which one. But not Duncan, man. Tuk Singanga on Skim Sam.
Oh yeah, even you know the it's a rumor. I don't know I don't want to confirm it. The I'm loving it. The McDonald's music.
Yes, that was done
I hear that
by Pharrell.
I hear that. So it's a rumor between Pharrell and who's this rapper?
No, Pusha T.
Pusha T.
Yes, but you see, the thing about Pharrell is that some of the people that he works with, he gives them an opportunity and they pay them out monies, and Pharrell takes 100% of the credit. So Pharrell took 100% of the credit for that thing, but because it was a commissioned work, when they commission the works, they also own the rights, and they can also retain and reserve those rights. Like it's called a music rights buyout. So you see a lot of artists, they make music for Coca-Cola, they make music for McDonald's in this instance, and we're not promoting those brands. We're just naming them because they are part of these deals. And it's to give you an example, because I think around the world people know McDonald's. And so Pusha T wasn't paid for that, but another...
he wasn't paid?
Well, he wasn't paid for each usage of it.
Oh, okay.
Because they completely bought out the rights.
Or he was bought out?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was bought out, but there was another burger company, Arby's burger company, that asked him to compose a song, and that also allowed him to retain his composition rights.
What is a sync deal?
So synchronization, right? Synchronization is when Telkom now says, okay, fine, we like this song Spirit, we'd like to use it in a
TV
commercial. You understand? And license it and have the rights to use it for a certain period of time. And that synchronization deal is basically the deal or the contract that then stipulates how long they can use it for, where they can use it, in which territories they can use it. So when I say where they can use it, that means in the which different formats. Can they use it on radio? Can they use it on television? In a commercial? Because sometimes you got, voiceover commercials that have got music underneath as well that is synchronized with the voice that is speaking. And can they use it in cinemas? Because that's another form of advertising, and film. Can they use it on social media platforms like your YouTube, your streaming platforms, like within the ads that they have on streaming platforms, because they've got ads in streaming platforms now. Sometimes you're listening to Apple Podcasts and then you hear a little ad and it's got music underneath it. So that's the where. And then the territories is like, okay, no, this is limited to South Africa. So if this ad by any chance were to play in another country, then that deal or the contract or the agreement would then stipulate that for any plays or usages outside of South Africa, then there's a 300% premium that is then paid. So I mean, you look at Nissan. Shake shake what your mama gave you, movie is do you feel like dancing tonight? That song was used, the Squatter Camp song was used in a Nissan Micra ad, and then by the time the Nissan Micra was launched in other African countries outside of South Africa, they signed a synchronization deal that said they'd be paid 300% of the fee that they'd be paid for the South African usages of the song. So this ad actually played in other countries more than it played in South Africa for a longer period. And that sync deal then entitled them to even higher earnings outside of the initial territory where it was used. The Spirit one that I spoke about earlier was for a Telkom synchronization deal that was only for 6 months, and for the usage of the music for 6 months, I think it was 800,000 rands on the publishing side, and the publishing side was also then matched with the master rights side, the sound recording side, which was also another 800,000 rand excluding tax. So that's 1.6 million rand excluding the value added tax that could be charged for the 6 months usage of the song. And then they also asked for an extension, and in that extension we used another song called Vorvai, and we also had charged the same fee. So those two songs made 3.2 million rand for 1 year's usage by Telkom.
What is a road manager?
So a road manager is the person that gets you from A to B, and that also organizes your itinerary. They liaise with your booking agent, they liaise with your brand manager, and they liaise with the artist. So it's basically your right-hand man. He's the person that books your security, books your hotel, engages with your sound engineers or anybody that's in your team, manages. He's basically the team manager. He's the kit manager. Have you ever seen a kit manager? The guy that goes into Old Trafford first, makes sure that Ronaldo's jersey is here, that Benny McCarthy's chair is sitting in the right place, that Ten Hag, also has all these things, all his notes, his whiteboard, and that's what a road manager does. Their job is to make sure that the artist arrives to the gig on time and gets home safely afterwards as well.
When you're still starting your career, a road manager can also double up as your manager. Let's talk about an artist manager.
So the artist manager is basically the person who has the vision for where the artist is supposed to go. That is the credo mutua of the creator of the works that are being sold. So he's the person that sits down and then designs an entire plan, a career plan for you, and then manages the brand contact. So whenever someone engages with the brand, the manager's job is to ensure that they get a consistent type of you are able to build a brand, and they get they manage your reputation as well. So if you are DJ Sbu, a DJ, they ensure that whenever you're going somewhere, you are properly introduced as who and what you are, as a DJ. The people also understand the value of your presence, the value of having your brand there, and they work closely with a road manager, or they can double as a road manager by just also taking on the duties of managing your daily schedule.
And in the beginning, they can also double up as a booking agent. What is a booking agent?
So the booking agent is the person that answers the phone and does the administrative work to ensure that when someone needs your services, that all the requisite administration is done, whether it be, number one, taking the booking, checking on the calendar about your availability, checking where this place is that you need to go, checking what type of transportation you'd need, what type of security you'd need, what type of accommodation you'd need, and also ensuring that the artist is paid. And you can have various booking deals. There's some promoters like Live Nation pays 20% of the booking fee up front, and the balance they pay after the performance, right? They are there to ensure that, number one, you get your deposits, and that once you've performed and you're supposed to collect the balance, or if you are supposed to collect the entire balance before you perform, that actually happens.
What is an artist rider?
So an artist rider, right, is something that you should get only when you've become an accomplished artist. Don't go now to Alessio. You've got one song. Alessio is the guy that manages like a lot of clubs where artists and DJs perform, and then you say, I've got one song, I want to get onto a performance, I want 10 bottles of champagne, I want, all of these things. An artist rider is also a burden as well on you. If you are an artist that has a rider where you're demanding...
No, hold on. I'm going to disturb you there. I think you're focusing more on the nice to haves. Let's start on the important stuff.
That's what I'm saying. I'm actually,
what is an artist rider before we get into the nice to haves?
An artist rider is the basics.
Before we get into Amangane.
Yeah, because that's exactly what, a lot of artists, the temptation is to have. That's what they think of when they think of an artist rider. An artist rider basically says, okay, what do I need to do my job?
Thank you.
That is it. What you need is certain technical things, like, you need CDJs, a certain specification of CDJs, you need a certain mixer, you need a certain microphone, you need a certain front of house desk, to actually mix your sound, whether you've got a band. You need certain miking for your drums. Drums, a drum rider is, the most extensive part of any artist rider for a live performer, especially. You need a guitar amps, everything that you will need technically to be able to do your job. Anything on top of that is hospitality. And those are the nice to haves. And those should be only reserved for when, you are leaving. If you are getting an artist rider, like that has hospitality, never drink the liquor. The liquor is not for you to drink. You are not supposed to be drunk on the job. You understand? The liquor is something that you collect at home and you give as gifts to people, so that sometimes you're going to a show and you might find, there's the compiler for such and such a radio station. He's not on duty. His duty is when he's at a compiler station in the office. Now he's off duty and you've been given a hospitality rider, you've got champagnes, and because you don't drink on the job because you're a professional artist, right? You can say, here are my bottles of champagne. I'm giving them to you as a gift, and then that will help you maintain a better relationship with that radio station, with those radio compilers, and maybe they might give you more spins and spin your music on Metro FM at prime time, so you get 600 Rand per spin instead of 200.
Do artists have to pay radio compilers to play their music on the radio, including DJs?
No, but they have to maintain relationships. You don't have to pay, and you shouldn't be paying. But I just taught you guys a trick on how to maintain the relationship. All the compilers know, for any artist that I work with, like, the bottle of Hennessy or the champagne, if I see a compiler, the band knows you're not taking that bottle home. That's not part of your collection. You know what I mean? We're collecting these to give them as gifts to people because, professionally, all you should be having on your artist rider is water and tea.
What is a booking contract?
So the booking contract is the agreement that you have with whoever is requesting or paying for your services, to say, this is what I need to deliver, this is how I need to deliver, this is when I need to deliver, and should either of us fail to deliver on what we've promised to deliver, this is how we dissolve or terminate or we recompense each other for any losses that may occur because of a failure to deliver.
We've mentioned a booking agent. We've mentioned a help me. We've mentioned a booking agent,
a road manager,
an
artist manager, artist manager is a brand manager, because an artist, when they have management, they become a brand, right?
Just like what Tibbs was to AKA.
Yeah, understand. A reputation manager.
Yeah.
He's the
and Benza and the team.
Yeah,
and
yes.
Actually Tiamo as well.
Yeah, exactly.
From T Factor.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out to the incredible work that you guys have done, man.
Yeah,
very proud of the work that you guys have done.
So I mean, a lot of people use homie management in the beginning, in the early stage of their careers, because they haven't earned enough to have a managers. But because this information is available anywhere, many artists are DIY artists. I mean, like, I know personally, my wife is a DIY artist. She manages herself. She does her own bookings. She does her own press. She does her own scheduling. Everything she does herself. And that's because, you know, she's learned all these skills and these competencies over the way from many people that she's worked with and many people that she's partnered with before. And now she can do all these things by herself because, I mean, in the digital age, it doesn't take much. I mean, my wife designed her own album cover on Canva. You know, she had someone obviously do the photography and the photo shoots, the makeup and the team, but she hired that whole entire team. And then once she'd gotten the images, she put her logo on it. She does her own flyers and her posters for her shows that she books herself. She speaks to the venues herself. All of these things you can do by yourself. And when you're doing them by yourself, you give yourself an opportunity to earn enough to hire the best team members, so that when you actually hire someone, it's someone that has got a competency that can elevate your performance, that can elevate your brand, and that can elevate the efficiency at which you deliver.
With that being said as well, but a lot of people would also advise against doing it yourself at a later stage. Yes, in the beginning.
In the beginning, when you've got less to manage, when it's still manageable in your initial stages. But as time goes, to elevate yourself to that higher super mega level, you need an entire army.
And talking about these people that we've spoken about, we have not mentioned a good lawyer and a good legal person and a good accountant.
So now, you know, you've got ChatGPT, so you can get an attorney, an AI attorney, which will charge you less than an attorney that you can consult. But those are the two most important things. You know, more important is lawyer fees. That's how it is now. It's how it'll always be. I never change. This is always me. That's Jay-Z. Never change. Produced by Kanye West. So, and Blueprint. That's 2001. So the lawyer is ensuring that any agreement you make, right, does not compromise you. So if you now have a lawyer and you, let's say you do a show like the Bryce Show or whatever, and you stake your brand on that show, it's even named after you, whatever. If anything could happen to you in the time that you're performing your duties, right, and that the channel is recommissioning the show, your lawyer is then supposed to negotiate on your behalf to ensure that your rights are protected. And as you guys saw, the Bryce Show ended up having a new host, and there was a dispute about the ownership rights of the Bryce Show. And the lawyers then came in and they fought that in court, and through litigation, their rights were reserved, and AKA retained his 50% ownership of the show itself, you know, and because he had good lawyers that fought for him there. Your lawyers don't mean that you won't get into situations where there's conflict or where you might have to go into litigation, but they are there to protect you in those instances so that you're not compromised because of your lack of knowledge of how the law works. So
it's essential to have a good lawyer, but also equally so an accountant or a tax advisor.
An accountant, you know, is also equally important. With AI, you can also get an AI accountant, but your tax advisor is someone that makes sure that you're also compliant with your taxes, that you're paying your taxes on time, and that you're not fined, you know, by the taxman for not paying promptly or reporting correctly or declaring your earnings correctly.
Let's come to the creative side of it. What is the difference between a beat maker and a producer?
So a beat maker is a composer. A producer is a person who hires all the people that work on creating a musical product. So the final sound recording that you hear, that is a product, right? And the producer is the person that oversees the product. I mean, the products, all the stages at which the product cycle goes to until you get that. Henry Ford is a producer, right? But the people that work on the assembly line that put together the Ford are the composers. You know, they put the wheel in, you know, and he hires all of those people. And then once the production cycle is done, once the assembly line is done, you get now a Ford, which you can have in any color as long as it's black.
What's the difference between a producer and an executive producer?
So an executive producer is on a higher level than the producer. They're the ones that actually source the funding and do all the deals to hire producers that then work with your composers, your sessionists, your vocalists, and all the people that actually create the product itself. So the executive producer is usually the head of the record label.
What is an engineer?
So the engineer is a technical person who works on ensuring that you have appropriate sound quality of the product. So they are the quality controller of the sound recording that you have. They quality control it. And they can work with a number of people within the engineering team. Some people do mixing, which basically is how the sound works. All the sounds of the composition work together. And then there's mastering, which is the management of the loudness of the record, so that it is uniform or it is of a certain standard. And then those people are the ones that are responsible for the sound quality that you then get to enjoy when you're listening to your music in all the various different formats, whether you listen to it in Dolby 5.1, 7.2, whether you listen to it in spatial audio or you're listening to it as immersive audio. Yeah.
What's the difference between mixing and mastering?
That's exactly what I just explained. So the mixing basically is how all the sounds work together within the sound recording, and the mastering is the management of the loudness of all of those sounds having come together. So now once the sounds have come together, sometimes you hear an artist say, no, my song is unmastered. And then that means that, okay, now I need to put it closer to the ear because it's not as loud and I can't hear all the sounds in their fullness and in all their expressiveness, you know. That is what a mastering engineer does. And because of the fact that we use a human factor in a lot of these things, we separate those tasks because the ear does get tired. Your attention span also does wane. And also, I don't know if you've edited your own writing, but have you ever written something and you've written it, and it's brilliant, and then how manjo like okay, and then you're like how, but when I was reading it, everything.
Sometimes it's nice to take it to a fresh eye or a fresh ear.
So the mastering person is the person who's got the fresh ear that is like an editor to when you're writing.
Or if you're writing a book, like a proofreader.
You understand? To say, okay, maybe that sound there in the mixing stage was not loud enough, and I cannot bring it out fully when I'm doing the mastering.
What is an? Oh yeah, sorry. Finish
yeah, that's it.
What is an A&R?
So an A&R is artist and repertoire. So basically, an A&R is a person. I'd say they're a talent or a music creation developer. So they spot the talent, they nurture the talent, and they groom it and ensure that the talent is nurtured in such a way that the talent is challenged and can grow and make better products over time. So myself as an A&R, I find someone who I see, okay, this person can rap, okay, they've got some skills here, they've got a nice voice, but if we pair them together and maybe let me put a Questa in a studio with a Ginger Trill, a Kid X, and a Zinger. Not because like I feel like they need to help them with writing, but just because I feel like this person, if I combine them with these other people, their competitive energy and their competitive nature will drive them to then perform at a higher level than they would had they just been creating by themselves in isolation ordinarily.
This has been the Music Masterclass Part 1.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to be doing a Part 2. This is just the beginning for all you industry or music industry enthusiasts or aspiring musicians, artists, DJs, producers, dancers. There's a whole lot more we're still going to cover on this music space because it is an entire industry. It's the music business. There's a lot to understand, and it doesn't mean we all know everything. We also have learned as we've gone through the years, and there's a whole lot more that you can go out there and research for yourself so you can be more knowledgeable, so you can become a better artist.
And
we want you
A&R.
guys to become better than us.
And A&R, because now everybody's an A&R. I mean, South Africa A&R'd DOS. You know, we didn't know who DOS was, and then we saw a video of him dancing, and people said, okay, no, we like this voice, we like the sound of the music, we think this is the sound that should be shared. And they started doing all those TikTok challenges to his song, and now he's a big star because South Africans or the audience online A&R'd, you know, and they are also giving him advice, okay, try this or do this, okay, maybe less of this or maybe less of that. And he's able to see a direct correlation between the response to what he's producing and the crowd that he's performing for, and they become then A&Rs because of how they react to his music. So today, in this day and age, everybody is an A&R. The A&Rs are not the 3 people that are sitting on the judges panel at Idols. Yeah.
That was so dope, man.
Yeah,
thank you very much, Nota. I always appreciate your knowledge.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
coming to
allowing
share.
me to share this, because, you know, a lot of the kids have been asking me a lot of these questions. You know, I was sitting in studio A&Ring yesterday with Major Steez, Roy, who's still with Skanderworld, by the way, and Uncle Vinny, yeah, and Yums, yeah.
Shout out to the kids, guys. It's your future to grab with both of the hands and run with it. It is your time. We've done our time. We put the bar all the way up here. You guys take it further.
Imagine I forgot Yams' name.
We're giving you guys
and the OG reminded me. Yamazu Yams. Yeah. So yeah. And he was telling me that, you know, he wants to produce for your next album. He's like, no, Uncle Smooth needs to make a new album, an international one. Don't worry, Uncle Nota, I got it.
Oskido and Ricky said it well. Listen to the kids.
Yeah.
I will see Nota on the next episode. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Your last words to musicians out there, Nota, speak to them.
Yeah, man. Patience, persistence. You know, don't get tired of trying. Keep on trying, you know, until something happens.
I'll see you soon. Pusha Panda. Sure. I'll see you soon for the next episode.
Yeah.
Part 2 as well is coming.
Okay, cool.
All right, peace.
Well,
thank you, guys. Love you.